Hello and welcome to another episode of Pop Matters. I'm your host, Professor Lincoln Geraghty, and each month we'll be looking at popular culture matters and if they matter, from comics to sci-fi and all things fan-based. This month I have joining me Nick Coles, Events Director for the Portsmouth Guildhall, Curt Hill, Events Producer for Portsmouth Guildhall, and Dr. Emma Austin, Course Leader for Film Studies. In this episode we'll be discussing the Portsmouth Comic Con. Before we get to our main topic of conversation, Portsmouth Comic Con, we usually start Pop Matters with a sort of brief rundown of the latest news in pop culture. Big excitement for the release of Doctor Strange coming up into the multiverse, or some sort of concoction title. But also we've recently just had Thor Love and Thunder trailer drop. Did anyone catch that? Are you excited? What are your first impressions of Thor, Nick?
I think of all the different genres, I think Thor is the one that everyone seems to enjoy. You can get lost in the fantasy a lot more than some of the others because it's off-world. No, it looks fantastic. They've done what they normally do. They don't show you everything.
Yeah.
And I'm sure there's going to be lots more trailers over the next few months that will really show a lot more of the story. But no, I'm really excited, looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned the trailers there, because often what's in the trailer doesn't end up in the movie. I don't know if anyone's, looked at trailers, so that's really exciting, and then quite disappointed what ends up in the film. I don't know about you, Curt.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with that. It's nicer than some movies where you kind of see the best bits throughout the film and throughout the advert, and you go into the film and you think, I don't know why I wasted my time.
Like the recent Morbius.
But no, it does seem that way, but I think it has its kind of pros to that.
Were you excited? Have you seen the trailer for Thor? Were you?
I haven't seen the full trailer. Kind of seen bits here and there.
Yeah.
But I think, as Nick says, kind of generally in that kind of throughout all the kind of films, it does seem to happen. But
yeah, a little spoiler. Jane's back.
Yes.
Thoughts on that, Emma?
I think it's always kind of interesting when the tiny little teaser or stinger of a trailer is to either reintroduce a character that we've grown familiar with or to offer a new interpretation. Yeah. So it will be really interesting to see whether she is the kind of the linchpin of the narrative at all, or whether it's just one of those throwaway references.
Is she a variant or alternative version which sort of cancels the whole original character out?
Which would be interesting in itself.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah.
But yeah, as you say, with these kind of teaser trailers, it's just those little moments, those high points that you're kind of hoping are going to be integral, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, the MCU does like to surprise us. A couple of weeks ago we had the Easter special of Doctor Who on BBC One. I know Nick's here and we've had to restrain him, but we'll turn to you, Nick. What are your thoughts on the Legend of the Sea Devils and how it went down, and maybe thoughts on where the franchise is going?
The Sea Devils I was really excited about, seeing that it's the 50th anniversary of the Sea Devils that was filmed in Portsmouth, and I've literally just finished doing a small exhibition for Comic-Con, so really keen to see it.
Excellent.
And then the programme landed, really disappointed. It was like watching Pirates of the Caribbean 2 and 3 and the Peter Pan Panto, but not as good. But not as good.
He's behind you.
I really believe that Chris Chibnall's tender for a showrunner for the last 3 years has really brought the series down, without a doubt, and I think that's why they've brought back Russell T Davies to try and lift the programme. It's probably one of the number one programmes on the BBC, and to be honest, I think he's almost killed it. No disrespect to Jodie Whittaker, I think she's a fantastic actress, but if you haven't got the storylines, it doesn't work.
It is the flagship show, as you said, isn't it? It's BBC's sort of, the longest running. We're almost 60 years next year, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So it's a strange one that, there is this dip in perceived quality, regardless of all the acting talent, and bringing back sort of old enemies, as you said, celebrating 50 years of the Sea Devils. Catch it, Curt?
I haven't watched it myself. I think I need to just let Nick know that I spoke to Chris Chibnall earlier today. He is coming to Comic-Con, so he might not want to watch this video.
Hear it here first.
But for Nick's sake, he's not coming, but I think he's lucky. Nick being the Doctor Who nerd of the Guildhall, it was quite nice to see him come in bitterly disappointed after watching
Full of rage. Yeah, you raged out, did you, Nick?
If I had a cat at home, I probably would have kicked it. That's how bad it was. It was disappointing because they had built it up. Now, I believe that the final episode of Josie will be later this year, and they thrown in the Daleks, they've thrown in Cybermen, they've thrown the Master in. With all that, it should be a fantastic show.
Yeah.
If it's not, then I think they're going to really struggle to bring Doctor Who back, and that's why the rumours are out that David Tennant could be coming back as Doctor Who.
Yeah, I've heard this as another version of...
As another version. I'd rather like to see... There's Linda West from It's a Sin.
Right. Excellent.
I think she's a great actress. It'd be great to put there. Michael Sheen's even been mentioned.
Yes.
But Michael Sheen gets mentioned for everything. He's
yeah.
the man that's never appeared in any of the Harry Potters. I think he's the only English actor or Welsh actor not to appear in Harry Potter.
And I think the Harry Potter films need him, but I won't go into that disaster. Emma, Doctor Who fan yourself, where do you think after Chibnall, where do you think it's going to go with Russell T Davies?
I really, really don't want to speculate because I'm kind of holding on to hope that it will bring back that kind of extended run where we get that thoughtful consideration of characters as well as some kind of hit one-off episodes. I do think the scheduling of this particular run has been a very hit and miss in terms of building up that repeat viewing, building up the audience. So I'm kind of hoping the BBC go back to that regular scheduling, which is what Doctor Who fans want and what I think is kind of integral to building up all the storylines.
They've never had a real run of episodes and series for Jodie, I think. It's just stop-start, and now we have these 3 specials, and it sort of peters out before she's even got going, it feels like, don't you think?
Oh, absolutely. If there had been that concerted run and then specials, so you've built up that background knowledge, you've kind of had more of a sense to connect with her and what they're building around her version of the Doctor, that could have been really meaningful. But as you say, she hasn't really had the stories that have allowed that to happen. So I'm kind of hoping that the BBC kind of rethink how they're scheduling this in the future.
I don't think they need to go back to as it was back in when I was youngster. So it was like a 6-week run of stories that was one basic story. They've tried to do that slightly in the last series where each story followed on.
Yes.
But there was
a
flux, and then there'd be like a random one that didn't really work, and it just the storyline was so weak all the way through. And I think that's the problem. They need to go back to telling good stories. Doctor Who are good stories that even if you're not into sci-fi, you can still watch and enjoy it. And unfortunately, they've lost that.
Yes, well, as you said, we'll see where, maybe not speculate, but maybe a little speculation who the next Doctor is.
And try not to bring in comedians. No disrespect to John Bishop, fantastic stand-up comedian.
You'd wedge him in there.
But please, you can't act. He comes to the Guildhall a lot. We know him very well. He's a fantastic comedian.
Right, okay.
Don't act.
So next time he's at the Guildhall, we won't show him this.
And I won't be there either.
Annual leave booked.
Annual leave booked, yeah. So last month we had the Paralympics, Curt, and I know you're interested in superheroes and notions and issues of diversity, and things like Ms. Marvel will start to sort of reflect this. Having superheroes reflect more accurately, society and normal life, really. And you are quite interested in how the Paralympics sort of called attention to disability and superheroes with disabilities.
Yeah, and I think the important thing to remember is not all heroes wear capes, but also not all superheroes are able-bodied. And kind of some of the issue you have with a lot of superheroes that might have a disability is it then becomes about the superpower. Kind of becomes more important that's come from their disability opposed to their disability overall. And I think we need to have more characters where it becomes more about learning of their disability and the representation of that opposed to the superpower that it kind of creates for that character. Yeah,
and it seems like Miss Marvel's going to reflect on sort of people struggling to sort of come to terms with this disability and how it might sort of coping with their superpower, and how they're sort of adapting their life to that responsibility.
I think what you're saying is correct. Kind of you've got Daredevil who kind of again it all becomes about the disability and the superpower that creates opposed to the disability he has.
Yeah, and of course he had a nice cameo in the last Spider-Man movie. What about this idea of superheroes as role models and reflecting sort of, the wider diversity of culture?
Well, it's a must, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're a very multicultural society these days. And 20 years ago, every superhero was white European or white American. Well, it's not. That's not to be. We spoke a lot earlier about the Rock, Mr. Johnson, coming as Black Adam soon, which would be great. Hitchcock was another superhero, not so much in the genre of Marvel and that sort of stuff. So yeah, we need to be more diverse. There's been some good ones recently, I thought, in the Eternals. didn't like the film.
Yeah.
The fact that there was a deaf
That's
superhero
right,
in
yes.
that, which was really good, and actually used sign language, which was nice to see on the screen. So yes, I think we're gradually getting there. There could be a lot more.
And the same actress as in Walking Dead, right? That played that character in Eternals. She plays a deaf character in Walking Dead, and it's like, you know, not being able to hear the zombies creep up at you, yet she still survives. She's one of the last surviving humans in the world. So clearly she's doing something right. You mentioned Black Adam there. There's been something going on in Las Vegas, Emma, that you want to sort of fill us in on.
Yes, there has. It's the annual CinemaCon taking place in America in Las Vegas at the moment, which is the con for cinema chains and exhibitors across America. And Warner Brothers have chosen this as a platform to drop some very interesting information and teasers about upcoming projects. So you mentioned Black Adam. Warner Brothers took the opportunity to present him with a prize as the entertainment icon of the decade.
Wow.
Which, while I love his work, I think might be overstating it a tiny bit. But that led into a really nice segue to introduce the trailer for Black Adam, which looks very interesting. Warner Brothers also took the opportunity to teaser the fact that there will be a sequel to The Batman, with Robert Pattinson agreed to sign on, and with the same director as well.
Excellent.
So we're looking forward to further announcements on that in the future.
Yeah, we all seen The Batman. I thought that was pretty good cinema, really.
I mean, I thought it was a fantastic use of 3 hours of my weekend. I mean, I had this argument with a colleague who said, you know, 3 hours you won't get back, but I think it was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah.
She said, well, what, you know, all he does goes around and punching people in the face. I said, well, that's brilliant for me.
And see you at Comic-Con then, dressed as Batman. But violence is in, you know, there's different iterations of Batman. I saw a fan trailer that put Adam West in the role of the Batman, played by Robert Pattinson. It was classic. And the Penguin as the real Penguin. Was there, you seen Batman?
No, I haven't.
No.
I've been angry looking at.
I've been angry. You've been angry for other reasons, yeah. But I think the Batman film actually, talk about rebooting or sort of revitalising Batman after Nolan, whether it needs it or not, but it does take it into an interesting direction. And what's fascinating to see, such a violent film has Lego figures now, so that's partly because of the deal with Warner Brothers. You know, so, as you were saying, Warner Brothers seems to be creating a cinematic universe. Is that right?
Their own DCEU, the extended universe. Yes, I believe they're going to be releasing a film about super pets in the near future as well.
Something to think about for next Comic-Con, getting pets down, dressed in all cosplay outfits.
As long as it's not a cat that's around when Nick's watched Doctor Who.
Brilliant. Well, talking about Comic-Con, and as Emma said, you know, there's clearly Comic-Cons going on all over the world. Las Vegas, I know there's a big Star Trek convention going on in Las Vegas during the summer, and that takes us quite nicely to our next topic of conversation, the Portsmouth Comic-Con. To give you a better flavour of what Comic-Con is all about, let's show a short video from the last time the event was held. There we go. So, 7th and 8th of May, Portsmouth Comic Con. Nick, I'll turn to you first. Give us a little history. How did Comic Con get started in Portsmouth? How's it evolved? And how inclusive is it to the city?
It's my fault.
Blame you.
2016, we were having a blue sky thinking meeting in our office where our CEO spoke to me and came and Curt and said, come up with some ideas for events. We'd done some small events in the Guildhall Square. And being a Doctor Who fan, I jokingly turned around and gone, let's do a Comic-Con. Expecting him to turn around and go, what's a Comic-Con? Don't worry about it. And he went, oh, I've got 2 friends who are into comics. Yes, let's do it. Yeah. Having never been to a Comic-Con, nor Curt, it was a bit of a mad panic. I shot on the internet what we got to do. It took us 2 years.
Yeah.
to get it off the ground. We did work with a company called Tripwire that helped us getting comic artists involved. But it was, let's say I had a lot more dark hair in those days. But we've got there. This year should be our 5th.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because of COVID, it's going to be our 3rd. It was quite a small event in our first year. Second year, we really exploded. We took over the whole of the Guildhall Square, massive marquees. This year, we're even bigger. But we're a bit different to other Comic-Cons. If you go to MCM in London or you go to Birmingham, wherever, they're very celebrity-based. We want to stick to the comic artist and also open up to the community. So we try and do a lot of workshops. The university were involved, doing workshops and panels. Try and do panels that people are interested in. We did find the first year some of the comic artists would come along and talk about their life, which was interesting. But people really want to know about what they're drawing. So, you know, if you're an artist that draw the Hulk, let's talk about the Hulk. Why has Hulk gone from being grey to green?
Yeah.
And all this sort of thing.
Details like that matter for fans, right?
It does.
Yeah.
And that's what we wanted to do. So that's why we changed things around a little bit. Our panels are very open, a lot of questions and answers, lots of workshops. This year we've got Gary Erskine's going to do some drawing, which is great. So kids can actually draw along with him at the same time. But we brought in cosplay. We didn't think we needed it at first, and then after going to MCM we realised it was really important. We bring cosplay in. We've got some good partners. We've got Go Geek, a local company that deals with cosplayers, and also talk about people that cosplay like to get into a character because maybe they have issues with themselves. They don't like their own personal aura, so they bring in this character. So the idea is to bring in the community. Anyone's welcome. You can dress up whatever you like. It doesn't matter whether you spent £25,000 on an Iron Man suit or you spent £2.50 on a mask from the local shop. It doesn't matter. Everyone's involved. Everyone comes to the parade. They all march along. Nobody wins. It's not a competition. It's just for you to get a show off what you do. Last year we had a fantastic story of a young boy hasn't left his bedroom for 3 years. Said to his mum, they live in Jersey, and said to his mum, I want to go to Portsmouth Comic Con. Can you book me some flights? It was the first time he'd left his bedroom in 3 years.
Wow. And it's interesting you mentioned, so Jersey being the closest, I guess, Portsmouth to Jersey, major city. You know, Portsmouth Comic Con on the South Coast, are we one of the leading lights on the South Coast for comics conventions?
I believe we're the biggest Comic Con on the South Coast now. We looked at our ticket footprint. We've actually got a gentleman recently booked a ticket from Phoenix, Arizona.
Excellent.
Scotland, Germany, they come from everywhere because of the artist.
Yeah.
Because we get more comic artists at our Comic Con than you do at most others. After our first year, there was a rumble. A second year, we got voted 4th best Comic Con in the UK.
Excellent.
Which was really nice to hear.
That's brilliant.
A lot of the American artists can't believe it's a different atmosphere. It's so community-based, family-based. And we got voted in the top 10 in the world at the last San Diego Comic Con. So that was really nice to know.
Wow, you're amongst the top then for the San Diego Comic Con, which is the sort of model for comic conventions.
Yeah, there was a panel talking about Comic Cons on how you run a Comic Con. It was 2 o'clock in the morning. Yeah. I woke up, decided to watch it, and then we were mentioned. It was a shock. Yeah. Rather than kick a cat, I was jumping in the air at that moment.
I bet. You know, justification for losing colour in your hair then.
Yes.
Now, you work with Curt a lot in producing the event, and having worked with you over the last few events, I know it's a lot of planning, as you said, a lot of stress running up to the date, and there's only a week and a bit to go. What's different, this year, Curt? Obviously, Nick mentioned the sort of 2-year gap with COVID. How have you had to adapt and change with that?
I think with the 2-year gap, we wanted to come back with a bang. We wanted to really show that we'd been busy behind the scenes, planning, prepping, avoiding furlough. What we did this year is we've actually worked with the Joker Squad and the Isle of Wight prop crew. So one of the big features we've got this year coming in is a Star Wars walkthrough experience.
Yes.
Which, as far as we're concerned, there's nothing, as we're aware, there's no other conventions, kind of walkthrough experiences like this in Comic Cons in the country. And you're going to basically go into the experience in the Tatooine scene. You're going to go through kind of the Hoth Tunnel and then come out in Endor. Which is just going to be really incredible, kind of what they're going to put on in that space.
Do you have to sleep in a tauntaun?
It's optional.
Okay.
I've heard the hotels have whacked their prices up.
Yeah, I'm sure they
with
have.
the convention happening. So if you want to see from Star Wars experience, I'm sure I'm sure Nick can find some blankets. But so beyond that, obviously Nick's mentioned some workshops as well. This year we're really stepping up that level on workshops, making sure there's workshops happening throughout the whole weekend. And that's going to range from workshops for kind of 5-year-olds right up to 60-year-olds, 70-year-olds, something for everyone there, and just kind of really developing those relationships with content partners, including obviously yourself at university. I know you're working alongside Rain by Novatech, providing some really good content there. So
yeah, because it can be like a practical, hands-on sort of convention where you're playing with lightsabers and tech, and then in the next room you could be listening to artists talking about their experiences. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, before the pandemic, Nick and I were very lucky to get sent to New York.
Hey.
Absolutely.
Perks of the job.
Out of this world convention.
Yeah.
Really incredible. However, we felt we wanted to make sure there was something there for every single age group and every single interest. I think New York, if you're into the comic world, you're really nerdy, it's for you. If you kind of never been to a comic before and Comic-Con before, never read a comic before, there's still something there for you to really interest kind of everyone.
Yeah, Nick mentioned celebrities, not so much focus on getting big name stars in, but over the years, have there been any potential for getting some of the big hitters in?
We felt was not necessary. Our ticket sales are good enough. We're limited to how many people we can have at the con because of the size of the building and the square. Our ticket sales have always been really good. Who knows in the future as we expand? We have had a few artists this year come up to us and ask us to come. Madeline, who Curt fantasises about.
Live and Let Die.
Live and Let Die, definitely.
Yeah.
She's coming. We went after a few others. I went after Kate Manning, that was the original Jo Jones from the Sea Devils.
Yeah. Yep. She on the Isle of Wight, basically?
She lives on the Isle of Wight. Unfortunately, she's in Australia at the moment.
Oh, another island.
Hopefully, she didn't see the last episode of Doctor Who, so she'll be more than happy. But yes, I don't think celebrities are necessary. If you want to go and meet a celebrity and pay a lot of money for an autograph, then go to London. But if you want to come and have a good fun day, learn to draw. We have a steampunk section that this year are doing Harry Potter, but they've steampunked it all up. And they've got tea dueling, which is where you...
what is tea dueling? I've heard of, is this where you poke your eyes out with a teaspoon?
No, you sit either side, they pour a cup of tea and you choose a biscuit, and there's a variety of biscuits. I've been told hobnobs are the ones to pick, that's if you want to win.
Right.
You dunk your biscuit in the tea while you shout Victorian abusive words at each other.
Cool, blimey.
Which is one of them.
Right, okay, maybe I should take part.
And the idea is who can keep their biscuit from breaking before. And last year was fantastic watching the Lord Mayor take part in tea dunking.
What was the longest then that someone had their biscuit intact? Do you know?
I reckon there must be some cheating going on. I think there's some drug taking and cardboard being slid into those biscuits.
Yeah, I was going to say some structural additions.
It's quite fun to watch, and they all dress up and they're all in their characters and they're, as you're shouting out these Victorian abuses at each other, they're shouting them back at you. So it's an unusual thing. If you've never seen it before, tickets are available for Comic-Con. You'll be really pleased to come and see it. But
we could absolutely sort of give details on that. But that culture of Comic-Con is really interesting. You talk about the sort of community and people sort of being able to celebrate their identity themselves, either through cosplay or getting together. And I was going to ask Emma about, why do you think getting together at a comic convention like this is so important for fans? It's not just about the big name celebrities, it's about them, isn't it? I
think it's kind of an indicator of how Comic Cons have evolved over the decades, the different uses they've been put for different communities. So if we look back to the 60s, 70s, we're starting to see the early beginnings of Comic Cons, particularly in America. We're looking at gatherings of maybe a couple of hundred people at most, and they were people who were already communicating with each other through fan newsletters and through exchanging copies of films and copies of comics. So what we've seen over the decades is this gradual evolution where different interests have come into Comic Cons and have expanded the definition. So you've seen more interest from film communities from the 1980s onwards. I think the Batman film then actually was quite a big spur for people interested in the Burton film to actually then become interested in the comics. So it kind of had this knock-on effect. And what we've seen since then are Comic Cons as this space for expression. So you've got kind of the physical expression of costume and makeup and performance, which you've mentioned in cosplay as being hugely important. But you've also got that expression of knowledge as well. Fans like sharing knowledge in very, very positive, constructive ways. And a Comic-Con is the perfect space to build your knowledge, either through purchasing or actually just talking to people, engaging with the dialogues there. And I think that's why Portsmouth Comic-Con is so popular, is because it's allowing that generational dialogue, because it is so friendly to families and those social groups. You're seeing 3 generations engaging in the panels, engaging in the workshops, and the kids really feeling they have a space to enjoy themselves.
Absolutely. And Sunday is family day, isn't it? That's when you encourage, the kids to come and really get involved.
I think that we've done that this year. We decided to have kind of a witches and wizards theme, so you're looking at anything there, kind of from your Harry Potter to your Lord of the Rings, etc.
It's not specifically Harry Potter.
It's not specifically Harry Potter.
No, we won't be selling butterbeer. It's utterly butterly, but
okay. See, skirting the line of copyright there,
But yeah, I think that really then encourages the children. Obviously, we're looking we've obviously got the kind of 20 years of Harry Potter this year as well. Other things coming through, so it's not just Harry Potter, but there's a celebration of that. And I know you're doing a very good panel based around
we've got a couple of panels around fantasy and looking at sort of witches and Doctor Who as well. And I think, Emma, what sort of highlights the panels the university offering this year?
Particular highlights this year that I would strongly recommend. Every year we have a student-led panel, normally talking about something to do with comics and the wider cinematic universe. So last year, 2019, when we had the convention, our students were talking about the MCU, and we were really, really overjoyed because Roy Thomas joined the panel. This year we've got other student panels on the MCU and where it's going to go into the future, and our students will also be sitting on panels talking about representations of women in comics. So there's really going to be a massively wide range. You yourself, I believe, are doing a panel on Pokemon, or have in the past.
Have done have done a Pokemon panel, which again, just looking at the audience, as you said, it's like multi-generational. Adults, play Pokemon Go, remember the old traditional cards, and when it came out in the sort of late 90s, and then young kids, playing with their sort of Pikachu and stuff in the audience. So that multi-generation appeal is fascinating.
One of the things we do, we have a retro gaming area, which is all old games. So it's the old Segas, so you can come along and play Sonic and games like that. And it's great to see fathers sitting there with their sons and daughters and saying, I played this when I was a kid, and now it was fantastic. I found an Atari and I was playing ping pong. I remember my dad buying me that when I was about 3 or 4, sitting on a black and white telly playing it. But it was great to play it again, and that's another thing. The families can get involved. The dads and the mums can sit down. This is what we were doing when we were kids. Now you can have a play in that. Yeah,
and retro gaming is as you said, it's still very much alive, and that sort of sense of nostalgia is key. And I think Comic Cons tap into that, like we were saying, different characters, different iterations of characters. Which Batman are you? Which Doctor are you?
Yeah, it's certainly a very good father-son moment for me and Nick to kind of go through 2 completely different generations. But those things are always so special. You've still got a 6-year-old now enjoying those elements that were, introduced when Nick was a boy. So it's always really interesting to see kind of that taking place.
Yeah, and just you mentioned a couple of partners, and the university's been working with Comic Con since the beginning, Go Geek as well. Yes. What's it like, working literally, in setting up, often in sort of public spaces, some of the big event stages, getting on with the council? Is it a major operation?
Major operation, more grey hair, lots of paperwork, obviously, risk assessments. I must admit, the last few years the City Council have got a lot involved. I think the first year we did it, it was a case of, they had never seen anything like it. We have Big Victorious Festival down the seafront and other things going on in the city. It was a bit strange for them, but then they realised how it was community based and how it brought families in. It covers a whole of the city. It's not just the posh part down in Southsea. The local area can get involved. And we tried to do other events as well. So we did a mask making day at the Guildhall back in February, which was free to come in and just make a superhero mask. We expected probably 100 people. We had 956 kids come through.
Enough masks for that.
We had glitter everywhere, and I'm still finding glitter,
in all the sorts of places.
In every place you could possibly think about it. Our operations manager came back the next day because she had a day off, absolutely blew her top because there was glitter everywhere. Yeah. But it meant that the community get involved. Parents, children could just come along, have for free, make some masks. We had superheroes there. We had a massive 5-metre high Hulk. It was a great fun day. Yeah. And that's what it is. And what our plan is for this Comic Con, not to just be a weekend in May. It's to go out throughout the year. We're planning to go into schools next year and use the Comic-Con for literacy. Take artists, David, who works with us, who's a script writer, he's going to come in and actually go in there about creative writing for kids. So it's going to make Comic-Con just not a single weekend, it's going to go right across the year.
Excellent.
I think you're saying as well, kind of, how much planning goes into it. Just for context, we haven't had 2022's event yet, but we've already got names signed up for 2023, and we've already got elements of the event booked in. So we're already on to 2023. So it really is. There's no break. When the 9th of May comes after this convention, we'll be straight on to the next year's event plans.
And it literally takes that length of planning, doesn't it? A whole year in advance, doesn't it?
Absolutely does.
And I know from an academic point of view, whether we sort of sit in lecture theatres talking about these ideas, it's great to be able to sort of, as you said, talk about this stuff to the wider community. It's not about sort of closed off in sort of academic halls talking about these things. We want the fans to engage. And I know, Emma, some of the greatest experiences in the panels is when the fans ask questions, engage in discussion with the students and colleagues.
Yeah, and that's where the most interesting questions, and that's what we should be listening to, because we're talking about pop matters. So this is what everybody thinks, not just what academics think. And
it really is, they take it seriously, don't they? Because pop culture is serious. Doctor Who fans out there, Harry Potter fans, although Harry Potter's not at the Comic-Con this year. No, okay, just reiterate that once more, JK.
You won't be getting your can't believe it's not butterbeer from us.
But I quite like the sound of that tea duelling.
I will book you a space, maybe I'll take you on.
Okay, yes. Dip your hobnob, sir.
Yes, sir.
Well, thanks for coming along. And tickets available online?
Tickets available from portsmouthcomiccon.com. I would advise to buy your tickets in advance. Limited tickets available on the door, subject to availability. And that's 7th of 8th of May. Doors open on the Saturday. Doors open at 10 o'clock if you've got an early bird, but I believe they're all sold out. So it's Sunday. Sunday is the time to get tickets. Saturday, I think we've literally got a few hundred left. So, and it'd be 12 o'clock for normal ticket holders. Brilliant. Thanks for that. Check out the website, as these guys say. If you have any questions about what we've been talking about generally and want to ask Nick about his real thoughts on Doctor Who, then by all means go to the CCI channel and put a comment and question in the section below the video. But for now, my thanks go to Nick Coles, Curt Hill and Dr. Emma Austin. We've been discussing Portsmouth Comic Con because pop matters.